Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Sauls, and today I'm going to give you another 7 minutes worth of power. We're looking at goal setting today. As a leader, goal setting is an important part of all your activities. So let's crack on. Here's an example. I'm going to improve my communication skills by 50% this month. That's not a specific enough goal. So, what I haven't mentioned is that goal setting needs to be done in a smart, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound way. So, use the SMART technique. What would be more relevant would be I intend to improve my verbal communication this year. I intend to improve my verbal communication in terms of voice intonation in the next conference meeting. That's very specific, and it's also time bound because it's telling me by when I'm going to do this. The next thing we need to do is obviously look at how we intend to achieve that goal. So improving my verbal communication in terms of voice intonation needs a few things. It needs some voice practice. It needs me to understand the value of warming up before I give a talk or a speech or I engage in a conference. It also gives me the resources and places I need to look in order to learn how to improve my voice intonation. It gives me an awareness that my voice may be quite monotone, and mine is monotone a lot of the time. And so I have to make quite a great effort to change the tone of my voice as I speak. So that would be an example of a specific goal. Another specific goal might be I intend to improve my the quality of my communication. What does that mean? That means I need to use the language that's relevant and specific to the audience that I'm speaking to. If I'm delivering a communication to a conference room full of board members, for example, I might need to have more concrete and specific facts like KPIs, graphs, and targets to show them as part of my communication. When I'm talking to people that are colleagues or people that work for me, I need to use language and not too much jargon, but use language that they understand. So that would improve the quality of my communication. The content of my communication is also important. So that could be another goal. I intend to improve the content of my communication. What does that mean? That means the content is either going to be very factual or it's going to be very emotional, right? Or it's going to explain to people why they need to trust in my ability to lead them. That would be another aspect of quality of communication. So I'll be promoting my ethos to them, telling them why I'm a credible person to listen to and follow. So, these are all just a few examples of having specific goals. In terms of anything. This was an example in communication. The next thing is measurable. Someone once said to me, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. So we've made a goal of improving our communication skills by the next conference meeting. So what we need to do now is understand where our baseline is. So you could do a 360-degree feedback very quickly before the next conference and ask people for feedback in terms of what are my communication skills like? Am I a skilled communicator? Am I an engaging communicator? Do people want to listen to me? Do they feel that I'm worth being listened to? So you could get some feedback on that and establish a baseline for yourself. And from that baseline, you'd be able to see perhaps where you need to focus your attention in terms of improving your communication skills. And that will help you become even more specific in terms of your goals. So someone might say to you, well, your body language is quite closed. You're always using closed gestures and you're always pointing a lot. Maybe you could start using more open gestures, and sound a bit more sincere and learn when to drop your voice and when to raise your voice. So that kind of feedback may change the initial goals that you set and make them more specific. It also allows you to measure because now you have a baseline. And after the conference call or the conference meeting that you have, you can then ask for more feedback and take that feedback, compare it to the first feedback, and see whether or not you've made an improvement. So there's an example of goals and how you can measure them. That's just one example. In terms of revenue, you may say, I want to increase my business revenue by 5% next year. You can use last year's figures to look at it and decide whether you've achieved that goal or not. And if you have, then great, keep doing what you're doing. And if you haven't, then you start looking at what do I need to do? What are the blockers? What do I need to overcome in order to make this goal a reality? So measuring your goals is absolutely essential. The next thing is achievable. I might set a goal of saying, I want to be the most skilled communicator in the entire world. Well, that's not going to happen. That's unachievable because it's very difficult to measure that for a start. And if you can't measure it, you probably can't do it. So set yourself achievable goals and say, I want to expose myself to more communication opportunities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get onto podcasts and be a guest on other people's podcasts, as well as do my own podcast. And in doing that, I get to practice my communication skills, and I can measure that by watching these various different series and podcasts and episodes and see how I've improved or how I haven't improved. So that's an achievable one is, say I want to become a more engaging speaker or more engaging communicator by the time I do my next podcast or my next conference. So that's an achievable goal rather than saying I want to become the most well-known communicator in the entire world. Then you've got relevant. Is your goal relevant to the objective you are trying to accomplish? We're talking about communication here. As a leader, should you be focusing on communication in this particular instance? For example, is your company or your organization struggling in a certain aspect? Are they going under? Are they approaching bankruptcy? Is your ability to communicate the main goal that you should be focusing on right now? Or should you have a goal of getting people in that are skilled financially and able to get you out of the rut that you are in? So being an effective communicator, while that's essential in everyday business and life, it may not be the most important goal for you to focus on at that time. So look at your goals and see if they are relevant to the bigger picture. And the last one is time bound. You can't have goals that are open ended. You must have a goal that must be accomplished by a certain time. Why? Because that encourages you to put effort and time into it. And when it's time bound, you can set milestones. And as those milestones come by, you can see how close you are or how far you are from achieving the final goal. And when you can do that, you can measure it and monitor it. And you can change the way you allocate your resources towards the goal of accomplishing that goal. So everything must be time bound. Set yourself limits and abide by them. Thank you very much for listening to this. This was just a 7 minutes of power for the hour, and it's all about goal setting in your personal life and in your business life. Thank you very much for listening. This is Mark Sauls out, and I'll see you in the next one.